Is that you?
Oh.
I just got this letter from my local board in Akron, Ohio, asking me to come in and explain why I turned my draft card into the Justice Department on October 21st. And the explanation is very simple. To express my support of the young men that are refusing to be drafted to fight in Vietnam. Because we regard this as a criminal war, and we're not going to have any part in it. You see, in my own situation, I had a fairly stable and secure family deferment. But I knew what that meant. That meant that someone else was getting drafted in my place, being sent off possibly to die in my place in Vietnam. And I found that hard to live with. So I felt the only thing for me to do was to stand up and say no publicly, and to help building a movement that is going to shut this elective service down permanently. How do you feel about the war?
I have no feelings.
Well, how do you feel about sending people over there if you have no feelings about it?
It's just a job. Now, what do you want me to do? Take something down for you, or what?
Seriously, how can you say it's just a job when you're involved in a system that sends young men 10,000 miles to die?
We're not here to determine what my feelings are.
Well, I'm very interested as a fellow citizen in what your feelings are.
I don't care to express them. Now, who'd you give the cards to?
I handed them into the Arlington Street Church on October 16th. And they were delivered to the Attorney General in Washington. All of which is a matter of public record. There's no secret about it.
Well, apparently they have not been returned to your board.
Oh, that's their problem.
And you refuse to carry them up?
As long as the war continues, yes. I refuse to have anything to do with selective service system.
Why don't you take this letter?
Okay.
I have no use for it.
Sure. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, that would be fine. I think it's a good reason. I think we should encourage her to get involved in that group instead of...
Yeah.
Well, look, this is Bill Hunt from the Boston Draft Resistance Group. Yeah, and I talked to a guy named Robert Mize. You know him? Is he real? Yeah, okay. Well, he wants me to come out there tomorrow and speak at this thing on the draft and induction and whatnot.
You went much too far in that and not mentioning the Vietnamese at all.
There was one other reference like that I objected to, and that's in the last sentence, that it sounds like appealing to cowards.
Well, that
and
was,
I think
that's what we wanted to get away from. I thought that we had consciously tried to get away from that in this one, and that would, which last sentence are you referring to?
You want me to have him call you? Yeah.
Yeah, February 28th, I got to talk on the draft, and I suppose that they would like to have you there too. It's going to be a citywide teaching.
But it's going to do him absolutely no good if he goes to one counselor, then another, then another. You should be keeping with him, and you should be in day-to-day contact.
100%. A lot of times people come in here, and it's very, very difficult to get to the root of the problem very quickly. And you know, it'd be very good if we can spend a day with every person, but we just can't do that. We don't have the staff to do that.
We are against the war in Vietnam. We formed the Boston Draft Resistance Group to work against the draft, because the draft brings the war home not only to us, but to most Americans. We help guys stay out of the Army, to save their lives, to increase opposition to the war, and to further the movement for change they're trying to build.
I don't understand what it would mean for us to begin working at trade and vocational schools.
Oh, I think that's perfectly
And I just want to hear somebody...
We've been talking about that, yeah.
I do, yeah.
Well, do you want to say it? I mean,
Sure.
we've all been talking.
Like at the demonstration the other day, one of the best things that happened was I met a guy from a business school, Andover Institute of Business. He just happened to be driving by that day and stopped off to pick it. And I got
When a man needs help, he comes into our storefront office for counseling. We started our program with the help of the American Friends Service Committee, built a reference library, printed draft fact cards. But the demand for counseling keeps growing. More than 100 people a week come into the office.
Right.
So we started weekly sessions to train new counselors.
Congress, in its wisdom, saw fit to provide an out for a certain number of people who would otherwise cause a great deal of trouble for the armed forces. And Section 6J of the 1967 draft law states, "Nothing contained in this title shall be construed to require any person to be subject to combatant training and service in the armed forces of the United States who, by reason of religious training and belief, is conscientiously opposed to participation in war in any form." The session tonight is mostly about conscientious objection, the people to whom this section of the law pertains.
The CO, the 1O, is the guy who doesn't want to have any part either in the designing of the weapon.
Counseling means finding out what each man feels about serving in the Army and fighting in Vietnam, and then explaining his choices to him. We help anyone who comes in, even though we think men should choose not to go, and many of us have already refused induction.
Like, you can go in there and say, I'm not a member of a religious sect. Did that make any difference? You know, did that maybe make you turn me down? And if they say yes, then you can use that in the appeal, because you can just say they're prejudiced. They don't know the law. You know, you can say, in your opinion, does that mean that I don't qualify? They'll say, yes, you have to be a member of religion to get a status.
Then you appeal on that.
That's right. And if you use, if you use a hearing like that to fuck them, it's possible to get away with a lot of stuff that they don't want you to get away with.
See, I should have been drafted over a year ago, but I've had court records and things like that that just kept me out of it, And it's...
He gets a chance to list those in the personal history.
Yeah, right. And make sure you ask for that Mall's waiver form, because you tell them that you do want to add some more to what you put down before, because you didn't fill out the whole thing, and this might keep you out too. Are you planning to take off?
If I have to, I'll, yeah.
Like Canada?
I'm gonna, yeah.
You're not going to the courts?
I won't go. No, I won't go to jail. I mean, it all depends, if I'm forced or if I'm caught into it or something like that, but if I'm free, I'm not, I know I'm gonna go to jail. Naturally, I'm not gonna go to the court, not in that courtroom.
Yeah. And you're going to go take the underground route or Canada or something?
Very few of the guys we counsel wind up in the Army, and more show up for counseling every week. But they're only a fraction of the guys being drafted. We had to find new ways to contact draft-eligible men.
It's been a good day.
Yeah. Why don't you talk when she comes?
Hi.
Hello.
My name's Ingrid Krause, and this is Vernon Grizzard.
Hi.
We're from the Boston Draft Resistance Group, which is about 6 blocks away on Columbia Street.
Mm-hmm.
And we've come to talk to people in this neighborhood about alternatives to the draft, because we're against the war and think that people who don't want to go should have other ways to get out. Do you know people in this area, or is there someone in your house who's of draft age? We've been talking to a lot of people in this neighborhood about the draft and the war in Vietnam. We've been trying to tell people that there are legal ways to avoid the draft.
Well, see, I've talked to a couple of other guys in the neighborhood who've gone AWOL, and I think what happens is that they get in basic training. They think they're going in and they're going to learn a trade or something like that, and they're going to get out and be able to get a decent job.
All they do is get kicked around.
Oh, yeah. And all they do, is get their ass kicked. They find out that the only trade they're going to learn is how to shoot people. And the officers there are worse than the teachers at Cambridge High and Life. The brig out there isn't too bad, except they have solitary confinement's real tough, and a guy a lot of times gets thrown into solitary confinement. If you're not thrown into the hole, you're okay.
They give them a dishonorable discharge after that, or what?
Not necessarily. Sometimes they give them other kinds
And
of
they just shoot them right over to Vietnam.
Yeah, that happens sometimes. See, what they do is the same thing that some of the judges do. They'll say, we'll let you off if you agree to go to Vietnam.
He's in Vietnam now? Or he's in the service?
In Vietnam.
In Vietnam.
And I myself, I don't believe that anybody's staying away from the service.
A lot of guys don't come back, though. I mean, that's the thing that worries me about it. It's not like you can just get good training or something.
You know, it's not like I got gray hairs, don't worry.
Canvassing helps to spread the word throughout the neighborhood about who we are and what we do. And we meet much less opposition and hostility than we expected. But canvassing still didn't bring us enough contacts, so we developed techniques to approach guys reporting for their pre-induction physicals.
For instance, in the guys that you approach on the bus, to get across the idea that you are standing up for something that you believe in. Because otherwise, I don't think, you know, I mean, the stuff about helpful hints to deal with selective service does not go over.
That
you know?
that should be stricken.
Yeah, right.
Sure. I mean,
And I think it went too far. I mean, I think maybe we can get somewhere now, you know, with that kind of sense.
Nick, can you try to say what you were trying to say?
If you're going to argue with these guys at all on the card, you want to argue to where they're at. I don't think that they're scared of jail as opposed to the Army, which is what you were trying to argue in the last part. When I talk to guys, what guys they're scared of are the reaction of their peers.
Right.
They're scared that the people they hang with on the corner are going to think they're cowards if they go to jail. It's not that they're thinking or try to go to jail or refuse induction.
I'm in school, but it's my 5th year in school, and so that my draft board classified me 1A in November. At least I assume that's the reason they did it. They sent me I asked them for a student deferment again, and they sent me this sheet with underlined that part of the regulation that says you have to be progressing normally towards a degree. And I have an Oregon draft board. And December they sent me notice to take a physical in January, and then I had it transferred to a board here. So it's going to be tomorrow.
What time do you have to be there?
7:15 is when they said to come.
We should be there at quarter of.
Quarter of is what I thought, yeah.
When Larry Gordon was ordered to report to the Roxbury Draft Board for his pre-induction physical, we decided to go with him. Planning was simple. We'd done it before. Yes, all of us were spread out, talking in the hallway. And then I was on the stairs a little bit above people. I said, my name is Vernon Grizzard. I'm down with a group of friends of mine who want to talk with everybody because we're against the war and don't think guys should be sent over there. We're in a group and we work against the draft. We know a lot of stuff about the draft and we use the law to keep guys out. And that's, I just wanted to explain to you what's happening today, which is that there are 4 or 5 people who were in this group who were talking to everybody this morning, and we'd just like you to know that if any of you have a problem, you know, like you've got something wrong with you physically but you didn't bring a letter, or you brought a letter but they turned you down today, you should come see us. And we're giving out these little cards that have the name and address of the group on it. We'll give you a phone number, and you should call us up, because the only thing that's going to, the thing that worries me about the war is that I know friends who are over there, and I don't want them to be killed, and I don't want any more of my friends to be sent. And I know you feel the same way too, is that you don't want yourself or your friends to go. And the only way we'll be able to do anything about it is if all of us stick together and fight for each other to keep us and our friends at home. And so that's why we came down here today. You should talk to us. Let us know if there's anything we can do. Thanks a lot. That's what I said.
Any applause?
No applause, no booze. Which is enough.
Once they get in there, they become like cattle, and they just go along that line. That's been my experience. And, you know, it seems like you have to reach them, you know, maybe a couple of weeks before they go for that induction. If you get them just moments before, it's not too effective.
But I don't think any of my partners will come down to see you. Thanks a lot.
Because we're white?
No, that's not it. That's not it.
What do you mean?
I mean, nobody's prejudiced.
Yeah.
None of my partners are anything. If they are, they will tell me about it.
Yeah. See, I mean, the reason I ask you is that I want to help people stay out of the Army. And if we're running an office that nobody would come into, I want to know what to do to make it better.
Well, why you want to help everybody stay out?
Because I don't like the war. I don't think we should be fighting there.
Well, I don't think we should be fighting there as Negroes anyway.
I mean, I don't want to go in this thing, you know, just as much as anybody here, I don't think. I don't think they want to get in. I mean, anyone to be gun-ho for a war like of this sort is, you know, have to be out of their mind, because it's hopeless. I mean, we're not protesters in any way, you know. I wouldn't go so far as to, you know, run around with plaques and protest, but I'm going to try to get out of this thing. I think, you know, we None of us want to go.
I'm working here to make sure that my black brothers, and myself included, are not at this pre-induction physical today forced to go into the army of this United States. We have no business fighting the people in Vietnam when we need to be fighting here against our enemies who are in front of us, not our enemies overseas. The Vietnamese are colored people who are fighting for their liberation as we are colored people, black people fighting for our liberation in this country.
Going on the bus? I don't know, I'm going on the bus. Been here quite a while. You want to run that bus? Yeah, on both buses. I just have to do it.
The local draft board is only the first stop, whether a man is taking a pre-induction physical or being inducted. From the draft board, chartered buses go to the Boston Army base. We ride the buses, making contacts, explaining alternatives, and opening up possibilities for guys who don't want to go, but don't know what to do. We reach guys at every draft board we go to, but for thousands of guys across the country whom nobody reaches, the last stop is Vietnam.